Hello, everyone. This is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Today, we are going to explore what it actually takes to deliver digital transformation well in a world obsessed with urgency. In 2026, the gap between a successful launch and a failed project isn't just about the code. It's about the trust between people and the honesty to prioritize what truly delights the end user. Joining us today is Sam Hyland, Vice President of Services at Veriday. Sam's journey from developer and solution architect to executive leader spans over 2 decades, giving him a unique, close to the craft perspective on digital delivery. Under his leadership, Veriday has become the only Canadian owned Liferay Platinum partner, competing with much larger global consultancies by staying rooted in the philosophy of an honest day's work. So, before further ado, let's welcome this special guest. Sam, such a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Wonderful to be here.
Now, Sam, organizations, often struggle with the tension between moving fast and doing things right, right? So, especially when inherited designs or tight deadlines are in play. So, from your extensive experience, what do organizations get wrong about digital transformation strategy versus the actual execution? Go ahead.
So first, I'm going to say it's really important to have a strategy. If your strategy isn't well defined, if your strategy isn't focused, you're going to struggle to succeed in execution. You've lost it before you've even started.
Yep.
But once you have that clear strategy for your transformation, that signpost in the ground, the key is really keeping your teams aligned around that strategy. So as it moves from planning into execution, you start to bring in more and more stakeholders. And those stakeholders, they're going to come with a long list of goals and objectives and things that they really want to get done. They're important, but do they contribute to that strategy? So you've got to come back to that signpost and you've got to look at that list. And you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. If I do this, is it going to help us achieve our goal? If not, maybe it's time to park it and come back to it later. The other piece is, once you're getting into execution, is making sure that everyone involved in the transformation project knows what the strategy is, knows what those goals are. Because the problem that you'll run into is you start to bring in external teams, you start to have other dependencies, and they might not be aligned on that strategy. So they may not share those priorities, and you start to run into trouble with delivery as well, because the challenge becomes, your priority versus my priority. Getting back to that shopping list problem, though, where all the stakeholders are coming in with different requirements, the reality is they come in with those requirements because they don't necessarily have trust that you'll come back to them later. So everything becomes a must-have because they think this is their only shot to get it done. So the other piece is looking at your wider strategy, establishing that trust within your organization that this is our objective now, but we're going to think of this as an ongoing evolution, not a one and done transformation. And so we're going to come back, we're going to address some of those needs down the road and get those problems, get all those challenges, we're going to come back to them. This isn't your only shot to get it done.
That's very well articulated, Sam. It's clear that, true delivery lies in that balance where strategy meets the reality of, what can be actually built and maintained. So thank you so much for that. Now, let's explore how, your Liferay Platinum status strengthens your ability to manage these complex digital experiences. So for all the listeners, firstly, from a layman's perspective, what is this Liferay DXP and how exactly does it enable scalable experiences? And go ahead and explain the importance of this certification as well. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I think it's really important that we explain what Liferay is before we talk about how it helps and enables those experiences. So I just got back actually in February from Liferay's SKO. It was in Vienna. It was a wonderful event. But the theme of the event was that Liferay is the best kept secret. And I think that's very true. It's a
Hmm.
really, really powerful platform that not a lot of people know about. Despite that, there's a very real chance that a lot of your listeners have used or interacted with solutions built on Liferay. So we actually built a solution for a large utility company in a big city in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And if you log in to pay your bill, submit move changes, construction teams are interacting with it, news is flowing through it, and that solution is all built on Liferay. And Liferay is what's called a digital experience platform. And it really acts as the front door to everything.
Hmm.
So it's often used to build a website.
Hmm.
That website often pulls in information from multiple disparate systems. So it might be pulling in from your CRM, your ERP, or other tools, pulling all those tools together, integrating them into a comprehensive, unified experience. It
Yeah.
might have features around commerce. It might have features around personalization, which is a big theme we see, getting the right information to the right people. So, that's kind of in a nutshell what Liferay is. I could talk for more, but
Yeah.
we only have so much time. Uh,
Right.
so, what's the benefit of then that recognition that we got through the certification? So we've actually been working with Liferay for about 20 years. We built a solution for a Toronto-based hospital. We're looking to re-platform it because that initial solution was end of life. The founders of Veriday, Mark and Chris, were at a conference and met the founders of Liferay. And that's
Yeah.
how we started working with them. When they launched their partnership program, we joined that partnership program. And it's got different tiers, like a lot of partnership programs, and you earn status through your delivery expertise,
Yeah.
through other areas. And
Hmm.
so we earned that platinum partnership status, which really shows the strength of our delivery on the platform.
Yeah.
It really lets us demonstrates how well we can really accelerate the delivery of anyone else looking to build, any unified digital experiences. And it's a very powerful platform that you can use.
Very interesting. And, congratulations on being the only Canadian owned partner at, this level. This also proves that a mid market firm can provide world class technical depth while remaining agile. So that's a great reminder for that. Now, moving ahead, Sam, let's discuss how you help organizations adopt AI without, abandoning their existing platforms. So, AI is not even a buzzword anymore. I say this every time. It's literally everywhere in everyone's, workflows. But a lot of businesses are, struggling to find that balance where they can integrate AI without disrupting the already going on workflow that is there, right? So, from your extensive experience, please go ahead and explain how can businesses add AI and automation without rebuilding everything from the scratch. Go ahead.
Thanks. So, like for the past couple of years, every conversation AI seems to come up.
Yeah.
It's the topic of the day.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of organizations are struggling with how to adopt it. The one thing I will say is don't do AI for AI's sake.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of developers working in different companies, and we're working with companies where they're counting AI usage like companies used to count lines of code.
Hmm.
So how many tokens are the developers using? Are you using enough tokens? And I think that's a mistake, right? Any solution you're building on AI really needs to be outputs. It needs to be about enabling value for your businesses.
Hmm.
So, what I do is I look at, the processes that you have today. I have a look at the tools you have in place today, and I have a look at the data that you have in place today. So if you
Yeah.
don't know what to do for AI, look at your data, get your data foundation solid. Make sure that you've got data governance in place, all of those pieces, because if you don't have that, you're going to end up with a lot of problems around hallucination once you eventually get to more advanced solutions on data. And we've helped some
Hmm.
customers with that.
Yeah.
But looking at how we approach it with something like Liferay or other tools that we look at, we really look at, what are the capabilities that some of these vendors are putting in, and what are some quick wins we can put in place within your existing workflows. So let's say, you're doing a lot of content management. Maybe AI is a great tool to help you with your translations. So you can automate some of the translation workflows. Maybe AI is a great tool to help make updates across hundreds of pages, making similar content changes across all of those changes, changing the voice, changing some details, letting it go out and do that work. Maybe it's around something like document processing. So, a lot of workflows, we've worked with insurance companies and done a lot of work in the quote and bind type space. And as part of those workflows, you're getting big PDF documents that you've got to process, you've got to extract information out. And the way organizations used to do that was through OCR. Now there's these large visual models. And it's just that tiny slice of your workflow that you can automate, but it can have huge dividends down the road. And I'll give a personal example of how far the technology's come in that space. Not from work. My daughter, she dances competitively. And so
Okay.
her dance studio every year sends us these PDFs with tables, with the schedules for her rehearsals, with
Yeah.
schedules for her competitions,
Uh-huh.
and they're a mess. Everyone looks different. The data isn't aligned. It's not nicely formatted. And
Yeah.
so, being a technologist, I threw this in AI a couple of years ago. I probably spent more time fiddling with the prompts to get the data out of it than I did to would have done to actually just do it myself.
Yeah.
Just got, 4 documents from them last week with all her competition schedules in them. Everyone was a different table. Threw them into one of these Frontier Labs AI tools. Boom, got everything out in a nice formatted list, was actually able to tie it directly to my calendar. But the point
That's
is
great.
that something as simple as that document processing in 2 years has just evolved in leaps and bounds. And so if you've got a workflow in there where you've got people looking at documents,
Yeah.
it sounds simple, but that can be fully automated now through AI. And just changing that one little piece in your workflow can free up, half a day, a week of someone's time, which can be huge.
No, of course. I think this is a very timely conversation. So thank you so much for highlighting that, Sam. And very cute anecdote about your daughter there. Definitely, I think modernizing the foundation that you already own is the smartest way to ensure that AI adds real value instead of, just adding to the technical debt that you already have with your company. Before we go any further, here's a special message for all of our listeners, especially to all the IT leaders and business owners watching. In 2026, AI is not a magic wand. It is an engine that requires good data and a solid platform to run on. Don't let the AI hype push you into abandoning systems that actually work. The real winners this year are the companies that find the honest gaps in the current workflows and then use automation to fix them. Trust your people, stay honest with your roadmap, and remember, if it doesn't delight the end user, it isn't transformation. So now coming back to you, Sam, let's examine how trust and ownership define successful project delivery. So these two are very strong words, right? And uh, the intent that they bring into any conversation is huge. So what does strong delivery look like, and how exactly do you align teams and clients? How does that look like? Go ahead.
So I think you said all of the key words in your question, right?
Yeah.
It's alignment is number one for me. It comes back to that signpost that I was talking about at the beginning in your strategy, making sure that your team is aligned
Hmm.
on what it is that they are trying to execute and
Hmm.
that you have that across the board. Um, your team, your developers needs to know what the value is behind the work they're doing
Yeah.
in order to really succeed. So one small way we do that is with our team, I will always encourage them if they're invited to an all staff or an all department meeting,
Yeah.
make sure you attend. Make sure you're hearing what the leaders of the companies we work with are saying. Make sure you hear what their priorities are because those priorities should be reflected in the work that you're doing.
Right.
In addition to alignment, Trust.
Yeah.
Trust is really, really important. And I think that people sometimes don't understand just how important that is. And maybe they've been burnt before, and so they close off a little bit. But I really believe in believing the best of people. There was a study done a few years ago where they dropped wallets in cities around the world.
Uh-huh.
And they found that they measured how many people they thought would return the wallets and how many wallets were actually returned. And it was about twice as much. So about 2 times the number of people actually
Wow.
returned the wallets as people actually thought would return the wallets. We're living in a much higher trust society than a lot of people believe. And I think that's important with my teams. I think it's
Mhm.
important with the companies that we work with. I think it's important with our vendors. I think it's important with the leaders and the executives to
Yeah.
have that real basis of trust. With trust, you can have autonomy. And then with autonomy, you can empower all of the people that are working on your projects to do a really good, really strong job. So, autonomy, trust, alignment. If you get
Yeah.
all of those three together, you're going to have very successful projects. You're going to have open and transparent communication between everyone involved. And that's
Mhm.
what's really necessary for success. As soon as you lose any of those, you've
Yeah.
got a challenge and you've got to solve that challenge.
Very well said. And, when this focus shifts from finger pointing to problem solving, you create a collaborative momentum that almost guarantees project success, right? And this great insight about the trust factor, even, I was not aware about that. And I just hope that as we go into, the future, this trust factor is embedded even more into the society as we go from here. Now, I'm loving this conversation, Sam, and definitely we are going to invite you one more time where, we can dive into deeper conversations. But for now, before we let you go, if there's one piece of final advice that you have for leaders who are facing a stalled transformation project, what would you tell them and why?
So in that case, I would say, figure out why the project stalled,
Hmm.
right? Is it technology? Did you pick the wrong technology solution? Is it morale?
Hmm.
Is it just, a misunderstanding of what that alignment might be? And
Uh-huh.
fix that problem first. Find a small win, regardless of what that is. So whether it's moral, whether it's technology,
Yeah.
whether it's that signpost, find that small win. Implement a workflow for one team, one department, even one individual that shows the value of the transformation and snowball. Build on that success,
Hmm.
get something done rather than continuing to try to boil the ocean, which is often what's happening when a project is stalled.
Yeah. No, that is a great reminder that honesty and iterative progress are the best ways to rebuild momentum. Sam, it was such a pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise with our audience.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that was Sam Hyland from Veriday, a vital look at why the best digital experiences are built on a foundation of trust, expertise, and a relentless focus on the end user. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more resources. And lastly, a very special thank you to our podcast partners, UPS and ADP, our HR partner, for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses across Canada. See you guys in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.